let's dive right in. Today, we are going way, way back, thousands of years into Japan's ancient past to explore the story behind two of its most captivating and, let's be honest, mysterious artifacts, the clay figures known as DOGU and HANIWA.
I mean, when you look at a figure like this, the famous goggle-eyed DOGU, you can totally see why people have come up with some pretty wild theories. Alien visitors? Ancient gods? It honestly looks like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. But the real story? Well, it might be even more interesting. So, what exactly are we looking at here?
So at first glance, you might lump these two figures together. They're both made of clay, they're both from ancient Japan, they must be related, right? Well, that's where you'd be wrong. The truth is, these figures come from two completely different worlds. They're separated by thousands of years and were made for totally different reasons. One belongs to the world of the living, and the other to the world of the dead.
Okay, so let's start with the older of the two. And you could definitely say the more mysterious one, the DOGU. Our investigation is about to take us deep into Japan's prehistory.
So, the name DOGU, it's actually super straightforward. It literally just means earthen figure. Perfect, right? And these little statues were made during what's known as the Jomon period, which was this incredible era of really sophisticated hunter-gatherer cultures in ancient Japan.
Now you have to get your head around the sheer amount of time we're talking about here. It is just staggering. The Jomon period lasted for over 10,000 years. To put that into perspective for you, that is longer than the entire stretch of time from when the Great Pyramids were built all the way to today. It's just mind-boggling. And the DOGU flourished right in the heart of this immense era.
So the million-dollar question is, what were these things actually for? And the honest answer is, we don't know for certain. But scholars have some really compelling theories. You know, a lot of DOGU have these exaggerated female features like wide hips and big bellies. That suggests they were probably part of rituals for fertility or to ensure a safe childbirth, maybe representing a kind of mother goddess. Another really cool idea is that they were a sort of magical sponge.
And this is where it gets really fascinating, because this one detail might be our biggest clue. Of the thousands and thousands of DOGU that have been found, the vast majority of them were discovered deliberately broken. We're talking limbs snapped off, heads missing, and it was done on purpose. Archaeologists think this was part of a ritual. Maybe you transfer an illness or some kind of bad luck into the figure, and then, by smashing it, you destroy the affliction itself.
All right, now I need you to buckle up, because we're about to jump forward in time by more than 700 years to meet the second character in our story. The Jomon period ends, a whole new culture pops up, and with it comes a totally new kind of clay figure. It's time to meet the HANIWA.
The name HANIWA means clay cylinders, and they belong to the Kofun period. Now, that name, Kofun, is a massive clue. It literally translates to Old Tomb. And this era was all about the rise of powerful ruling families and the gigantic burial mounds they built for themselves.
So you can see right away we're in a much more recent time period now, way closer to us than the Jomon era. We're actually in the age of early recorded history. The Kofun period was all about building a state, and these HANIWA were a huge part of how rulers showed off their power, even in death.
And the HANIWA themselves tell this story perfectly. I mean, they started out as just simple cylinders, but over time, they evolved to show an entire world in clay. You had warriors decked out in full armor, you had musicians, entire houses, and all their prized animals like horses and boar. It was basically a clay replica of the ruler's whole world, meant to protect them and join them in the afterlife. So this is the absolute key takeaway. DOGU were part of everyday life, for everyday people and their personal rituals. HANIWA? Completely different story. They were exclusively for the elite, for the afterlife. They weren't idols you'd pray to, they were guardians, status symbols, set up on top of these giant tombs for everyone to see.
Okay, so now that we've properly met both of our clay figures, let's put them side by side and really solve the mystery we started with.
And this just lays it all out so clearly. Just look at the time difference. DOGU from the prehistoric Jomon period, HANIWA from the proto-historic Kofun period. There's a gap of almost 1,000 years between the last DOGU and the first HANIWA. Their purposes couldn't be more different. Rituals for the living versus guarding the dead. One was found in villages, the other on tombs. They really are two completely separate traditions telling two very different stories about ancient Japan. Now, even in the HANIWA world, you've got your celebrities, and this pair is probably the most famous. For the longest time, with their arms up in the air like that, everyone has called them the dancing HANIWA. I mean, they look like they're in the middle of a celebration, right?
But what if that's not what they're doing? What if we've been getting the story wrong all this time?
Well, recent studies have come up with a whole new idea. It seems these figures probably aren't dancers at all, but horse keepers. That pose, with the arms held up, it perfectly matches other HANIWA figures that we know for sure are holding the reins of a horse. It's just such a great reminder that our understanding of the past is always changing.
So why does any of this matter today? I mean, they're just old clay figures. Well, it's because these ancient echoes have left a really clear mark on our modern world.
Remember that goggle-eyed DOGU from the beginning? The one that looked a bit like an astronaut? Well, its design is so unique it's become a pop culture icon. If you've ever played Pokemon, you've seen its direct descendants, Baltoy and Claydol. Yep, that's them. And for Digimon fans, you'll definitely recognize it in the design of Shakumon.
And don't worry, the HANIWA warrior gets plenty of love too. With its cool, calm expression and that amazing armor, it's become this powerful symbol of the ancient samurai spirit. You see it popping up all over the place, especially in video games, as this quiet guardian of Japan's history. So from prehistoric ritual tools to guardians of ancient tombs, DOGU and HANIWA are so much more than just clay. They're like little windows into these lost worlds. And, it makes you think. Thousands of years from now, when someone digs up the stuff we use every day, what stories will our objects tell about us?